Park Do-hun stood in the waiting area outside the Galactic Council chamber. His hands were folded in front of him. His face showed nothing. Around him, alien diplomats of a dozen species moved through the corridors, their conversations filling the air with clicks, hums, and sounds no human throat could make. Do-hun was young for a diplomat. Only 34 years old. Earth's government had chosen him carefully. They wanted someone who looked harmless. Someone the older species would dismiss. Do-hun played that role well. He smiled easily. He listened more than he spoke. He let others think he was simple. The truth was different. A soft chime sounded. The great doors of the council chamber opened. Do-hun took a slow breath and walked inside. The chamber was enormous. It had been built 3,000 years ago, when humanity was still fighting with swords on a small blue planet. The ceiling rose so high, it disappeared into darkness. Floating platforms held the delegations of the 12 elder species. Each platform glowed with soft light. Each species sat in judgment. At the center, highest of all, sat High Arbiter Moloch. He was an insectoid being, tall and thin, with 4 arms and eyes like black glass. He had led the council for 200 years. He had seen species rise and fall. To him, humanity was a child stumbling into an adult's world. "The representative of Earth may approach," Moloch said. His voice buzzed through translation devices. Do-hun walked to the small platform reserved for those being questioned. It was low, forcing him to look up at everyone else. He did not mind. Let them feel powerful. Let them feel safe. "Park Do-hun," Moloch continued. "You have been summoned to answer for humanity's actions in the Velar corridor. Your species has expanded into protected territory. You have ignored warnings. You have shown disrespect to ancient claims. What does Earth say to these charges?" Quote, Do-hun bowed his head slightly. "High Arbiter, I am honored to address the Council. However, I must ask for clarification. Earth has received no warnings regarding the Velar corridor. Our records show the region was unclaimed." A sound rippled through the chamber. It might have been laughter. It might have been disgust. The Durrani delegate spoke next. She was amphibian, her skin wet and glistening under the lights. "Humans are always claiming ignorance. You expand like a disease. You take and pretend you did not know better." The Athari delegate added his voice. He was crystalline, his body catching light and throwing rainbows across the walls. 12 years in the galactic community, and already you overreach. You are children playing with fire. More voices joined. The Korath called humans greedy. The Vellani called them blind. The Sethrani said humanity needed to be taught its place. Do-hun listened to all of it. He nodded at appropriate moments. He took notes on a small device. He did not interrupt. He did not argue. When the voices finally quieted, Moloch looked down at him. "You have heard the Council's concerns. What is Earth's response?" Do-hun looked up. His expression remained calm. "Which human settlement in the Velar corridor has caused this emergency session?" Moloch gestured to an aide. Coordinates appeared on a display. Do-hun looked at them. For just a moment, something changed in his face. It was small. A tightening around his eyes. A brief stillness. Most of the aliens would not notice. They did not know how to read human expressions. But it was there. "I see," Do-hun said. His voice was the same as before. Polite. Measured. "High Arbiter, I request a brief recess to consult with my government. This matter is more complex than I initially understood." Moloch tilted his head. "More complex? It seems straightforward to us. Your people trespassed. They were removed. Now you must answer for it." "Removed," Do-hun repeated. The word hung in the air. "I understand. Nevertheless, I must consult with Earth before making any official statement. I request 1 hour." The council members exchanged looks, Some seemed annoyed at the delay. Others were amused by what they saw as human stalling. Malik waved a thin arm. 1 hour. No more. Do-hun bowed and left the chamber. The moment the doors closed behind him, he moved quickly. He walked through the corridors of Orbital Prime until he found a secure communication room. He entered, sealed the door, and activated the quantum link to Earth. Admiral Yoon Hae-jin appeared on the screen within seconds. She was in her 60s. Her gray hair cut short. Her uniform was crisp. Her eyes were hard. Do-hun, she said. We saw the coordinates. Is it confirmed? They said the colony was removed. Do-hun's voice was still calm, but something underneath it had changed. Admiral, I need to know what happened. I need to know everything. Hae-jin was quiet for a moment. 3 weeks ago, a Rithani fleet entered the New Busan system. They gave no warning. They made no demands. They simply opened fire. This fire. Do-hun closed his eyes briefly. Casualties? The colony had 2,287,000 people. Hae-jin's voice was flat, controlled. 12,000 survived. They reached the deep bunkers before the Rithani finished their work. The numbers hit Do-hun like a physical blow. He had known, from the moment he saw those coordinates, that something terrible had happened. But hearing it made it real. My sister, he said quietly. Yuna was teaching there. The school district in the northern settlement. Hae-jin's expression shifted slightly. A crack in the armor. The room was silent. Do-hun stood very still. His sister had been 3 years younger than him. She had always loved music. She had taken a position on New Busan because she wanted to help build something new. She wanted to teach children songs from Earth. Now she was gone. Burned away with 2 million others because the Rithani decided humans did not belong in that part of space. The council doesn't know, Do-hun said finally. They think this was a simple removal, a police action. They know, Hae-jin replied. The Rithani are a council species. Nothing happens without the council being aware. Some of them approved this. Others looked away. None of them stopped it. Censored. Active the 24. The 24. Un-24. Active the 24. Do-hun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was steady. What does Earth want me to do? We want you to deliver a message. Hae-jin's eyes were cold now. The eyes of a woman who had been preparing for this moment for years. The council believes we are weak. They believe we are alone and afraid. They are wrong. The fleets? Ready and waiting. Third Fleet is already in position. The others can move on my command. Do-hun nodded slowly. They will not expect this. No, they will not. Hae-jin leaned forward. Make them understand. Do-hun. Make them understand what they have done. And make them understand what comes next. The communication ended. Do-hun stood alone in the quiet room. He thought about Yuna. He thought about the children she had taught. He thought about 2 million people who had woken up one morning in their homes, in their ordinary lives, and then died because a powerful species decided they were in the way. Do-hun had always believed in peace. He had always believed that humanity could find its place in the galaxy through patience and goodwill. But some lessons could not be taught with patience. He straightened his jacket, composed his face back into its calm mask, and walked back toward the council chamber. The hour was almost up, and Park Do-hun had a message to deliver. 3 weeks before the council summons, the morning sun rose over New Busan. Sergeant Kwon Mireille woke early, as she always did. Her small apartment looked out over the colony's central district. Through the window, she could see the curved glass towers where people lived and worked, the green parks where children played, the transit lines that carried workers across the city. New Busan was only 15 years old, but it already felt like home to the 2.3 million people who lived there. Mireille made breakfast for her daughter. Soyeon was 8 years old, with bright eyes and a laugh that could fill any room. She was excited about school today because her music teacher, Miss Park, had promised to teach them a traditional song from Earth. "Will you pick me up after school?" Soyeon asked between bites of rice. "I'll try," Mireille said. "If I can't, Grandma will come. But I'll be home for dinner. I promise." She kissed her daughter goodbye and watched her run down the street toward the school building. Then, Mireille put on her security uniform and headed to work. The Colonial Security Headquarters was busy that morning. There were reports to file, patrol schedules to review, minor disputes to resolve. New Busan was a peaceful colony. The biggest problems were usually arguments between neighbors or teenagers, causing minor trouble. Mireille liked it that way. She was in her office when the first alarm sounded. It was a sound she had never heard before. A deep, pulsing tone that meant only one thing. Ships were entering the system. Unknown ships. Hostile ships. Mireille ran to the command center. Her commanding officer, Captain Jang Tae-woo, was already there, staring at the display screens. "What is it?" Mireille asked. "Rethani Fleet," Tae-woo said. His voice was strange. Hollow. Over 40 warships. They just appeared from jump space. Rethani? Mireille did not understand. They're a council species. Why would they? They're not responding to hails. Tae-woo turned to look at her, and she saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. They're heading straight for us. No communication, no demands, just coming. The next 30 minutes were chaos. Colonial Governor Baek Somin tried desperately to establish contact with the Rethani fleet. She sent messages in every language, every frequency. She offered to negotiate, to discuss whatever grievance had brought them here. She received no reply. The colony's defense grid activated. New Busan had orbital stations, patrol ships, ground-based weapons. It was enough to handle pirates or small threats. It was not enough for this. The Rethani fleet reached orbit and began firing. Mireille was in a transport vehicle, racing toward the northern residential district. Her only thought was Soyeon. She had to reach the school. She had to get her daughter to the emergency bunkers. Around her, the world was ending. Rethani ships filled the sky, dark shapes against the blue. Beams of energy lanced down, striking towers and streets. Buildings that had stood for years vanished in moments. The sound was beyond anything Mireille had experienced, a roar that seemed to come from everywhere, shaking her bones. People were running through the streets. Families with children, workers still in their office clothes. Everyone was trying to reach the bunkers, but there were so many people, and the Rethani were firing so fast. Mireille saw a transit station explode. She saw a park where she had taken Soyeon to play become a crater. She saw people she had known for years simply disappear, there one moment and gone the next. She kept driving. She had to reach the school. When she arrived, the building was still standing. Teachers were guiding children toward the emergency exits, trying to stay calm, trying not to let the children see their fear. Mireille ran inside, calling her daughter's name. "Sergeant Kwan." A voice stopped her. It was Yuna, the music teacher. Park. Yuna. Yuna. She was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes that were now wide with terror. "Soyeon is with my class. I was taking them to the bunker when the attacks started. We had to turn back." "Where is she?" "Classroom 7. I'll take you." They ran together through the hallways. The building shook as explosions hit nearby. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered. They reached the classroom. Soyeon was there with 15 other children, huddled together, crying. When she saw her mother, she screamed and ran to her. Mireille held her daughter tight. "I'm here. I'm here. We're going to be okay." But even as she said it, she knew it might not be true. "The bunker entrance is 3 blocks away," Yuna said. "If we go now, we might make it." They gathered the children and moved. Mireille led the way, her weapon drawn. Yuna stayed at the back, keeping the children together, telling them to be brave. The streets outside were filled with smoke and noise. The sky was orange with fire. They made it 2 blocks. Then a Rethani ground ship appeared overhead. It was a troop carrier, and it was landing in the street ahead of them. Mireille pushed the children back. But there was no other way. The streets were blocked with rubble. Other Rethani ships were landing across the district. They were not just bombing anymore. They were sending soldiers. The school basement, Yuna said. It's reinforced. It won't hold forever. But an explosion threw Mireille off her feet. When she looked up, she saw Rethani soldiers moving toward them. Tall, armored, carrying weapons that hummed with energy. "Take the children," Mireille shouted at Yuna. "Get them to the basement." "Go," Yuna grabbed Soyeon's hand. "Come on, children. Run. Don't stop. Don't look back." The children ran. Soyeon looked over her shoulder one last time, her face wet with tears. "Mom, I love you," Mireille called out. "Go." Then she turned to face the Rethani. She knew she could not win. She was one person with a standard sidearm against a dozen armored soldiers. But she could buy time. Every second mattered. She fired. Her shots bounced off their armor, but it made them slow down. Take cover. See her as a threat. Good. Let them deal with her. Let the children get away. The fight lasted less than a minute. A beam of energy hit Mireille's chest, and she fell. Mireille's chest is Riemann. Mireille's chest is... A beam of energy hit Mireille's chest as her vision faded, she heard the distant sound of the children's footsteps. That thought was enough. Kwan Mireille closed her eyes for the last time. In the school basement, the children waited. Yuna held them close, sang softly to keep them calm, and prayed for rescue that would not come. When the Rethani found them 2 hours later, they showed no mercy. Across New Busan, the same story repeated again and again. People fighting, hiding, trying to protect each other, and everywhere. The Rethani killed without hesitation, without pause, without any sign that they saw humans as anything more than insects to be removed. By the end of the day, the colony was gone. 2,287,412 people. The Rethani did not count them. They did not remember their names. To them, it was simply a cleansing, a correction of a mistake. 12,000 humans survived in the deepest bunkers, the ones too far underground for the Rethani to reach quickly. When rescue ships finally arrived from Earth, those survivors told their stories. They described what had happened. They named those they had lost. They wanted the galaxy to know. And now, 3 weeks later, on Orbital Prime, Park Do-hoon was about to tell the Galactic Council exactly what their silence had cost. The doors of the council chamber opened, and Park Do-hoon walked back inside. His face was calm. His steps were steady. Nothing about him looked different from before. The alien delegates watched him return to his small platform with expressions of boredom or mild interest. To them, this was a simple matter. The human would apologize. He would accept punishment. Life would continue. High Arbiter Malik looked down from his elevated seat. The hour has passed. Is Earth ready to answer for its actions? Yes, High Arbiter, Do-hoon said. I am prepared to make a statement on behalf of my government. Then speak. Do-hoon paused for a moment. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each delegation in turn. The Durrani, the Ithari, the Korath, the Sethrani, and there, on a platform near the center, the Rethani. Their delegate was called Prelate Vorun. He was large, even by Rethani standards, with thick, gray skin and 4 eyes that showed no emotion. He sat surrounded by aides, looking at Do-hoon the way one might look at a small animal. Do-hoon began to speak. 15 years ago, humanity discovered the Velar Corridor. Our surveys showed it was unclaimed space. We checked all records available to us. We found no treaties, no territorial markers, No signs of habitation. We followed council protocol. We filed settlement documentation and sent it to this body for review. He held up a small device. I have records of that filing. We received no response. Council protocol states that, if no objection is raised within 1 standard year, settlement may proceed. We waited 18 months to be safe. Still no response. So we built our colony. The Ithari delegate made a sound of dismissal. Your ignorance does not excuse. I am not finished, Do-hun said. The chamber went quiet. It was a small thing, interrupting an elder species. But Do-hun had spoken firmly, and something in his voice made the Ithari stop. We named our colony New Busan. Do-hun continued. It grew quickly. Good land. Rich resources. People came from Earth to build new lives. Farmers. Engineers. Teachers. Families with children. In 15 years, the population reached 2,287,412 people. He let the number hang in the air. 3 weeks ago, a Rithani fleet entered the New Busan system. They did not hail the colony. They did not make demands. They did not negotiate. They simply opened fire. 1. Now the chamber was very quiet. The attack lasted less than 1 day, Do-hun said. When it was over, the colony was destroyed. Buildings, parks, schools, hospitals, all gone. And the people inside them? He looked directly at Prelate Vorun. Dead, almost all of them. 12,000 survivors reached deep bunkers. The rest, 2,275,000 people were killed. Vorun shifted slightly but said nothing. Do-hun's voice remained steady. I have seen the footage from surviving security systems. I have read the accounts from survivors. The Rithani did not simply bomb the colony from orbit. They landed troops. They went street by street, building by building. They killed people who were running. They killed people who were hiding. They killed people who were surrendering. This is outrageous, Vorun said suddenly. The humans were trespassing on sacred Rithani territory. We reclaimed what was ours. That is our right. Your right, Do-hun repeated. The words were flat. The Velar corridor contains sites holy to our people, ancient burial grounds, places of spiritual significance. We warned the council that human presence there was unacceptable. You warned the council. Do-hun tilted his head slightly. Did you warn the humans? Vorun did not answer. Did you send a single message to New Busan telling them to leave? Did you give them 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute to evacuate? Silence. You did not, Do-hun said. Because you did not want them to leave. You wanted them dead. You wanted to teach humanity a lesson about its place in the galaxy. You twist our intentions. I twist nothing. For the first time, something hard entered Do-hun's voice. 2 million people. Families. Children. You killed them without warning, without mercy, without any attempt at peaceful resolution. And now, you sit here and talk about sacred rights. He turned to address the full council. Among the dead was my sister. Her name was Park Yuna. She was 31 years old. She taught music to children at a school in the northern settlement. She had gone to New Busan because she believed in building something good. She believed that humanity's future in the stars could be bright and peaceful. Do-hun's voice did not waver, but something in his eyes had changed. A depth that had not been there before. When the Rithani attacked, she was with her students. She tried to lead them to safety. She sang to them to keep them calm while the world burned around them. She died with them when the Rithani found their hiding place. The chamber was silent. My sister was not a soldier. She was not a threat. She was a teacher who loved music and loved children. And she died because this council allowed the Rithani to believe they could murder humans without consequence. Malik stirred. The council did not sanction. Did you stop it? Do-hun asked. When the Rithani fleet gathered, did you send warnings? When they entered the Velar corridor, did you intervene? When they began killing? Did you do anything at all? No one spoke. The Rithani are a council member, Dohun said. Their military movements are monitored. Their actions are known. You knew this was happening. Some of you may have approved it. Others simply looked away. But none of you stopped it. He let that sit for a moment. I asked earlier what the standard council response is when a member species commits genocide against another member species. No one answered. I now understand why. There is no response. There is no justice. There is only power, and those who have it, and those who do not. Voron leaned forward. Humans are young. You do not understand how the galaxy works. Sometimes difficult actions are necessary to maintain order. In time, you will learn. Learn what? Dohun cut him off. To accept the murder of millions? To bow our heads? And thank you for the lesson? To know our place? Levin. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the chamber like a blade. Prelate Voron, you made a mistake. Your people made a mistake. You looked at humanity and saw weakness. You saw a young species, small and alone, and you thought you could do whatever you wanted. You thought there would be no price to pay. Dohun reached into his jacket and pulled out a small data chip. You stepped where you shouldn't have. He placed the chip on his platform and activated it. Displays around the chamber flickered to life. I have a message from Earth. Admiral Yoon, please begin broadcast. The screens showed something that made every delegate in the chamber stop breathing. Ships, human warships, hundreds of them, filling the display in formation after formation. And behind them, a planet. Gray and brown, covered in cities and military installations. The Rithani homeworld. Prelate Voron stood so quickly his chair fell. What is this? Dohun looked at him with an expression that was almost peaceful. This is your lesson, he said. And it is time for you to learn. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates rose from their seats. Voices overlapped in a dozen languages, all of them demanding answers, explanations, reassurance. Aides rushed back and forth. Displays flickered with data streams as each species tried to confirm what they were seeing. On the screens, the image remained steady. The Rithani homeworld surrounded by 200 human warships. Admiral Yoon Hae-jin appeared on the main display. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, hands clasped behind her back. Her face was calm. This is Admiral Yoon of the United Earth, 3rd Fleet, she said. We have established a defensive perimeter around the Rithani home system. All military installations on the planet's surface have been target-locked. No Rithani vessel will be permitted to enter or leave the system without our authorization. Prelate Voron's voice cut through the noise. This is an act of war. The council must respond. This cannot be allowed. Malek's aides were speaking rapidly to him. The High Arbiter raised a hand for silence, but the chamber continued its uproar. He struck a chime 3 times before voices began to quiet. Admiral Yoon, Malek said carefully. Earth has not been authorized by the Council to take military action against a member species. You must withdraw immediately. High Arbiter, Yoon replied. 3 weeks ago, the Rithani killed over 2 million human civilians without provocation. Earth requested Council investigation. We received no response. Earth requested emergency session. We were told to wait. Earth asked for justice. We were told to be patient. Known. Her eyes were cold. We are done waiting. We are done being patient. And we are done asking permission to protect our people. Dohun watched the reactions around the chamber. He saw fear on some faces, anger on others. But mostly, he saw confusion. The elder species were not used to this. Humanity was supposed to be weak. Humanity was supposed to accept what it was given and be grateful. This is impossible, the Durrani delegate said. Human military capacity was assessed at 40 vessels. Where did these ships come from? Dohun answered. From shipyards that you never found. In systems that you never searched. Humanity has been building for 12 years, ever since we joined the galactic community. We smiled. We traded. We made friends. And quietly, carefully, we prepared for the day when someone would try to do exactly what the Rithani did. You deceived us, the Athari delegate said. We protected ourselves. There is a difference. Vorun stepped forward, his body tense with rage. You dare threaten the Rithani homeworld? Billions of my people live there. You would murder them as revenge for your lost colony? Dohun turned to face him. Prelate, if we wanted to destroy your homeworld, we would have done it already. Admiral Yoon's fleet has been in position for 2 days. Your people have not been harmed. Your cities are intact. Your children are safe. He let that sink in. That is the difference between humanity and the Rithani. When your fleet reached New Busan, you did not hesitate. You did not give warning. You simply killed. We have the power to do the same to you right now, and we choose not to. Then what do you want? Vorun demanded. Justice. The word hung in the air. Admiral Yoon spoke again. The Third Fleet will remain in position until Earth's terms are met. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to destroy. We are here to ensure that what happened on New Busan is never repeated. Malak's antennae twitched. What terms does Earth propose? Dohun pulled out a document and read it clearly. First, the Rithani will pay full reparations to the survivors of New Busan. Funds will be used to resettle them and support them for the rest of their lives. Second, the individuals who ordered and carried out the attack will be identified and surrendered to an independent tribunal. They will face trial for their crimes. Third, the Velar Corridor will be officially recognized as human territory. All council records will be updated to reflect this. Number for C. Fourth, the council will establish a new protocol. Any unprovoked attack on civilian populations by a member species will be treated as an act of aggression against the entire community. All member species will be obligated to respond. Vorun's face twisted. These terms are humiliation. You ask us to bow to a species that has existed in space for barely a generation. I ask you to face consequences for killing 2 million people, Dohun said. If that feels like humiliation to you, perhaps you should consider why. The Sethrani delegate raised a clawed hand. What happens if the Rithani refuse these terms? Dohun did not answer. He simply looked at the display, where the Third Fleet waited in silence. The message was clear. Malak spoke slowly. Earth threatens violence against a council member. This sets a dangerous example. If we allow this, any species might use force to settle disputes. High Arbiter, Dohun said. The Rithani already used force to settle a dispute. They killed millions of innocent people. Where was the council's concern then? Where was your worry about dangerous examples? He stepped forward. Humanity did not want this. We came to the stars with hope. We wanted to trade, explore, learn, grow. We wanted to be good neighbors. But we have learned something in our short time among you. The galaxy does not reward kindness. It does not protect the innocent. It respects only strength. He gestured at the displays around the chamber. So here is our strength. The Third Fleet is only part of it. Earth has 3 more fleets of similar size. We have weapons your scientists have never seen. We have technologies we have not shared. Every human colony is now a fortress. Every human ship is armed. The chamber was dead silent. We did not want to show you this, Dohun said. We hoped we would never need to. We hoped the galaxy would treat us fairly, and we could live in peace. The Rithani took that hope away. He looked around at the assembled delegates. But this does not need to be the end of cooperation. It can be a new beginning. A galaxy where all species are truly equal. Where the strong cannot simply destroy the weak. Where there are real consequences for atrocity. His voice softened slightly. Humanity still believes in that galaxy. We still want peace. But we will never again trust our survival to the goodwill of others. We will never again watch millions of our people die and accept it as our place. If that makes us dangerous in your eyes, then so be it. We would rather be dangerous and alive than trusting and dead." Moloch was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Vorun. "Prelate, the Rithani are faced with a choice. Accept Earth's terms and preserve your people, or refuse and face the consequences." Vorun looked at the display. 200 warships, target locks on every major installation. A species that his people had dismissed as children, now holding a weapon to his world's throat. "You think this makes you strong," he said to Dohun, "but it makes you tyrants. No better than us." Dohun shook his head. "We have not killed anyone. Your people are unharmed. Your world is intact. The only thing we threaten is your ability to escape justice. If holding you accountable for murder makes us tyrants, then your definition of tyranny is very convenient." Vorun's jaw tightened, but he had no answer. The Durrani delegate spoke up. "I move that the Council vote on Earth's proposed terms. This situation cannot continue." Other delegates voiced agreement. Even those who had spoken against humanity seemed to recognize that they were out of options. Moloch raised his hand. "Very well. The Council will vote. But first," he looked at Dohun, "Earth must make one promise. If these terms are met, the Third Fleet withdraws. There will be no further military action against the Rithani." Dohun nodded. "If justice is served, we will stand down. Humanity wants peace. We have always wanted peace. We simply refuse to be destroyed while waiting for it." The voting began. The vote was not close. 9 species voted in favor of Earth's terms. 2 abstained. Only the Rithani voted against, and their vote did not matter. Prelate Vorun stood in silence as the result was announced. His aides whispered urgently to him, but he waved them away. There was nothing to discuss. His people had been outmaneuvered, and everyone in the chamber knew it. "The motion passes," High Arbiter Moloch declared. "The Rithani will comply with Earth's terms. Reparations will begin within 30 standard days. The accused individuals will be surrendered to the tribunal within 60. The Velar Corridor is recognized as human territory. Effective immediately." He turned to Dohun. "And the new protocol for responding to attacks on civilian populations will be drafted by a committee of all member species. Earth is invited to participate." Dohun bowed his head. "Earth accepts. Thank you, High Arbiter." The session ended. Delegates began leaving the chamber, their conversations quiet and careful. Many glanced at Dohun as they passed. Some with respect, some with fear, a few with hatred they did not bother to hide. Dohun remained on his platform as the chamber emptied. He felt tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. Admiral Yoon's face appeared on his personal display. "It's done? It's done." The vote passed. They accepted all terms. Yoon allowed herself a small nod. "Third Fleet will begin withdrawal in 6 hours. We'll maintain monitoring stations in the system for the next year. Just to be safe. Olivation. People make it in 76. The Rithani won't like that. The Rithani can learn to live with discomfort. They've given enough of it to others." Dohun signed off. He was about to leave when a voice stopped him. "Human." He turned. The Durrani delegate approached him, her wet skin glistening under the chamber lights. She stopped a few meters away, studying him. "You surprised us today," she said. "All of us. That was not our intention. Wasn't it?" She tilted her head. "Your people have been building weapons in secret for 12 years. You revealed them at exactly the right moment. You delivered your speech perfectly. Everything was calculated." Dohun considered his answer. "We calculated because we had to. Because we knew no one would help us. Otherwise, perhaps." The Durrani was quiet for a moment. The Rithani deserved this. They have been arrogant for centuries. They believe their ancient status gives them rights over younger species. But you should know many on the Council are afraid of humanity now. What you showed today, some will see it as necessary. Others will see it as a threat. We are not a threat to anyone who does not attack us first. I believe you. But belief is not enough. You will need to prove it. Over years, maybe generations. She started to turn away, then stopped. Your sister, the teacher, I'm sorry for your loss. She left before Do-hun could respond. Over the next weeks, the galaxy changed. The Rithani paid their reparations. The money went to the 12,000 survivors of New Busan, enough to rebuild their lives wherever they chose. Some returned to Earth. Others settled on different colonies. A few said they would stay in the Velar corridor and rebuild. They would not let the Rithani erase what had been built there. The tribunal convened on a neutral station. 17 Rithani officers were tried for their roles in the massacre. The evidence was overwhelming. Flight recordings, communication logs, testimony from survivors. 14 were convicted. They would spend the rest of their lives in prison. Some said it was not enough. Some said it was too much. But it was justice, of a kind. The new council protocol was drafted and approved. It was called the New Busan Accords. Any attack on civilian populations by a member species would trigger an automatic response from all other members. No exceptions. No delays. No looking away. It would not bring back the dead, but it might protect the living. Do-hun returned to Earth for a few weeks. He visited his parents in Seoul. They were old now, and they had lost their daughter. He sat with them in their small apartment, looking at pictures of Yuna as a child, as a student, as a young woman, leaving for the stars. She believed in people, his mother said. She always believed that if you were kind, others would be kind in return. Do-hun did not know what to say. He wanted to believe the same thing, but he had seen what the galaxy did to those who trusted too easily. Maybe she was right, he said finally. His mother looked at him for a long moment, then took his hand. Before returning to Orbital Prime, Do-hun made one more trip. The memorial was being built in the council chamber itself. A curved wall of black stone, set into the floor where Do-hun had stood during his speech. On it were carved 2,287,412 names. Construction crews were still working when Do-hun arrived. He asked them for a few minutes alone, and they gave him the space. He walked along the wall, reading names. Some were common. Some were unusual. Each one had been a person. Each one had had a life, a family, hopes for the future. Now they were names on stone. And that was all. He found Yuna near the middle. Park Yuna. Just the name. Like all the others. Do-hun placed something at the base of the wall. A small data chip. On it was a recording he had found in Yuna's personal files, a video of her teaching children to sing. Their voices were high and sweet, and Yuna was laughing as she guided them through the melody. He stood there for a long time, listening to the silence of the empty chamber. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I'm sorry I couldn't stop it. I'm sorry you had to be the lesson." He touched the wall where her name was carved. "But I promise you it will never happen again. Not to us. Not to anyone. We'll build a galaxy where teachers can teach and children can sing. Where kindness isn't weakness. Where people like you can believe in goodness and be right." He stepped back. "I'll make sure of it. Whatever it takes. However long it takes." He left the memorial and walked out of the council chamber. There was work to do. Alliances to build. Trust to earn. A galaxy to change. Humanity had made its point. The elder species knew now that humans could not be ignored, could not be dismissed, could not be destroyed without consequence. But strength alone was not enough. Strength could protect, but it could not heal. It could demand respect, but it could not create friendship. The real work was just beginning. Do-hun stepped into the corridor of Orbital Prime, where alien diplomats moved past him on their way to meetings, negotiations, the endless business of a galaxy full of different peoples trying to live together. He straightened his jacket, composed his face into its familiar calm expression, and walked forward to meet them. Humanity had come to the stars hoping for friendship. They had found a universe that tested them instead, and they had survived. Now it was time to build something better.